her diary. She kept this diary all her life, and she started publishing volumes of it, a 5-year period. She called it Leaves from My Journal. And she told everything. What Albert looked like in his underwear and how his muscles rippled. And her family were just crawling up the wall. Mother, you didn't put that in the diary. It's in the newspaper. Well, of course, this was the most popular coffee table book in England. Everybody bought Leaves from My Journal, and it was all there. Huge success. That was the year, by the way, that she met somebody who would have an enormous place in her life. And he was something of a phenomenon, generally. His name was Benjamin Disraeli. Now, the reason he was a phenomenon was that he was a Jew. Anti-Semitism was prevalent in England. Not to the point of outrages, no, but it was there. And it certainly was quite prevalent on the continent. I know in Germany, most of us were anti-Semites. And it wasn't that people were persecuting the Jews. It's just that there was that attitude. And Prince Albert certainly felt this. He had known about Disraeli, because Disraeli had been in public life for quite a few years before he came to office as prime minister. It was this year, 1968, that he did become prime minister. Now, Disraeli was unique in many ways. His father, Disraeli, a very prominent, well-to-do, scholarly Jew, knew that his children, Benjamin and Sarah, would have no chance at equity in the British society. They had money, you see, but they couldn't penetrate a lot of things. So he had them both, as they were babies and came along, christened in the Anglican Church and converted into, they were confirmed into the Anglican Church. So they were C of E, as everybody in the proper society was. And this gave them entree. Now with Sarah, bright, wonderful, very intelligent young woman, she, like most young women of the time, could not go to universities, but she was educated and accomplished. But Benjamin was the star of the family, and he shone. He was a spectacular student at the university. He was publishing in his 20s, novels at first, and then public issues were his books. His famous novel, Vivian Grey, was one of those favorite bestsellers. And he wrote on the issues of the day, social and political issues. He was very flamboyant, Disraeli was. And he got into government. He started out as a Whig and then went over to the Tory party and stayed there. And he was very much resented, members of the House. He was elected to the House. And he rose in the Tory party. And eventually, to the point where he became leader of the party. And he was elected prime minister in February of 1968. Well, when a new prime minister comes into office, he goes to kiss hands with the monarch. Not literally, but that was what you call it. And so he went up to Windsor to meet the Queen. Well, she was carrying on all of Albert's worst qualities, unfortunately. So she was looking at him as Albert did. How do you do? Well, Disraeli was an absolutely charming man. He was ingratiating, he was clever, he was witty, he was just a delight to be around. And the moment she allowed him to speak, he began a conversation. She said, yes, and I read your book, and all that sort of thing. And he said, oh, yes, and I read yours, Mom. We authors, Mom. Well, he was a famous author. And the Queen realized that he was equating herself with her little diary, with his long line of literature. Oh, Mr. Disraeli, please do sit down. Of course, after that, he was in. And he became, over the years, as Melbourne had been, she had some sort of a matronly crush on him and absolutely adored Disraeli. as their relationship grew, and depended on him and solicited his advice on government issues, even when he was out of power. And he was in and out with Gladstone all these years.